Welcome back to Ballboy Media. I'm LJ. If you're new here, please subscribe and leave a like. Today we are going to be talking about the De'Aaron Fox and Zach LaVine trade that just went down in the NBA last night. Comment down below one player you'd like to see get traded at this year's deadline. As you can see, I got my Kings jersey on today because we're talking the Kings, the Spurs, and the Bulls. We're going to get right into it. The Spurs received De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin. The Kings get Zach LaVine, Sidy Cissoko, 3 first-round picks, one of which is Charlotte's 2025 pick, will become 2 second-round picks, and then 3 additional second-round picks. And the Bulls are getting Zach Collins, Tre Jones, Kevin Huerter, and their own pick back via San Antonio. That originally came over in the DeMar DeRozan deal. So the Spurs in this deal, they're picking up De'Aaron Fox, obviously the prize of this deal, and Jordan McLaughlin. Fox has an esteemed resume. He was drafted 5th overall in 2017, and since then, he's been one of the best and most exciting guards in the NBA. He's a one-time All-Star, one-time All-NBA player, as we saw him have that spectacular season a few years ago. He also won Clutch Player of the Year, and he averages 22, 4, and 6 on his career, and 25, 5, and 6 this season. As I said, Fox is a proven guard. He's averaging 25.6 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 5.9 assists his last 3 seasons. He's played all but 17 games of his past 2 full seasons, so the durability we've seen is there. He has missed stints here and there this season, but really no major injuries, which is something you like to see when you want to pair, a player with a long-term asset like Victor Wembanyama. He is a proven scorer. He had 60 points and 49 points on back-to-back nights this season. The only concern with him is really the three-point shooting. 32.2% on 6.4 attempts this year from beyond the arc for Fox. He is a 33.3% career three-point shooter, and he's only 29% in games this season where he takes 8+ threes. Obviously, you want a guy who can score in volume, and while Fox can score in volume, there are some concerns about his three-point shooting and how dominant he can really be beyond the arc. You'd like to see, if you're him, you'd like to see him as maybe a 38-39% free throw shooter on roughly the same volume, and I think that if he's able to unlock that with the Spurs, they're going to be a tantalizing opponent for years to come. The Kings have won with Fox as their lead guy. When Fox was on the Kings, he, was a lead guy, and he definitely propelled their playoff run a couple seasons back, and he is under contract for the next 2 seasons. So the Kings in this deal are getting Zach LaVine, Sidy Cissoko, Charlotte's first-round pick, which I said is lottery protected, and if it does not convey this year, which it almost certainly will not, it conveys into 2 second-round picks, so they get that. San Antonio's first-round pick in 2027, Minnesota's first-round pick in 2031, which I believe some GMs would look at as definitely a very valuable asset because we're not quite sure how Minnesota will look. They have a couple big free agency situations in the coming years. I know Naz Reid is set to hit the open market this year. And then 3, practically 5 second-round picks. The Kings in this deal are getting some value back, and I think this is good for the Kings because I think, as a team that was on the wrong side of relevance for 2 seasons, they made it back into the spotlight, and I don't think that they should give that up just yet. I think if I'm them, I'm trying to stay consistent because if you're the Kings, what you want to see is sustained winning after an era as putrid for them as the 2010s was for the most part. The Kings are getting a player who has made 2 All-Star teams in Zach LaVine, and he has overcome injuries in the past as he's doing this season, as you can see averaging shades of 24, 5, and 5. The Kings actually offer-sheeted LaVine in 2018, but Chicago matched it, and he was with the Bulls for the 6 seasons following that. In last year, he had a definite down year, and personnel around the league was looking at his deal and saying, okay, this might be a deal that we have to attach picks to just to get it off our books. That was not the case this year. LaVine, after posting his lowest points per game since 2018 in a 2024 season, which saw him play only 25 games, LaVine has rebounded in a big way this year, and it made him all the more valuable as he was traded to the Kings. He's averaged 24+ points per game in every season since 2020. This is a guy who can flat out get buckets, score from anywhere on the court. He can hit the 3-ball. I believe he's tied for the second most threes in a game all time, and we've seen him participate in the dunk contest before too. This is a true veteran who can score from all around. Now the Bulls in this deal added some quality veterans as well, who I think would look to be shopped next season. We'll see what ends up happening, but they received Zach Collins, Tre Jones, Kevin Huerter, and their own first round pick back. That is correct. San Antonio had possession of their first round pick, and they are receiving it back in this deal. Now, with this trade, it appears as if the Bulls are seemingly entering a rebuild, which does confirm some reports earlier in the week that they are open for business. Obviously, it was expected that they were going to move on from Zach LaVine, but I think the door is definitely open with them reacquiring their first round pick. It could have conveyed as late as 2028, and when you're a rebuilding team, you're looking to really get a grip on all of your assets moving forward so you have complete control of your own destiny. The Bulls are 21 and 29, holding steady around that last play-in spot, and I'm not certain that the second half of the year is going to be more favorable for them, but they will likely opt to focus on gaining assets at this year's trade deadline. One thing to note, though, however, is that they do have a history now of retaining players past when the public and the media thinks they should be traded. For example, DeMar DeRozan, he was traded for Chris Duarte, Raekwon Gray, and 2 second-round picks in a sign-and-trade to the Kings earlier this offseason. That, as well as LaVine now getting traded for 3 role players and their own first-round pick back, when I feel like other teams, if you're trading with the Warriors, you could have gotten another quality young player and a first-round pick back. I think that, this is a trend we've seen with them, and I'm not trying to hate, but it is unfortunately the truth with how this team has functioned, and organizationally, you have to expect that maybe they will hold on to some of their players based on how they have done that in the past. They've been stuck in this middle ground of basketball for the past few seasons, and I would expect, something similar moving forward. Additionally, as I said, Alex Caruso, they traded him for Josh Giddey, did not get any picks back in that deal. If you're this team, I feel like getting picks is your top priority. They also just waived Torrey Craig as I started recording this, which again, I feel like you could have gotten a second round pick out of Craig. I think that he is definitely a solid role player and could have been good on a team that's looking to contend for a playoff spot or NBA championship. The Spurs, on the other hand, are building something, and I think that this is a much improved roster because they were able to retain all their young players and now have CP3 in a reduced role, which I think is going to be beneficial to him. When you think about Chris Paul, I think that San Antonio is more than likely his last spot based on his age and how these smaller guards tend to, fare later in their careers. I think that he's proven that he can still play, he can still facilitate. He's averaging 8.2 assists per game this season, and I think ultimately acquiring Fox is going to be a great benefit to Chris Paul's Hall of Fame career. Paul, the legs are starting to go a little bit, and that's to be expected as I believe he's turning 40 in a couple of years. In a role where he's playing 12, 18, 24 minutes a game, I think is going to be a lot better for him and his health moving forward as a player than what he was doing before as a starter. And I like this starting lineup. I think there's a little bit of everything with Fox, Castle, Vassell, Barnes, and Wembanyama. Obviously, Fox played with Barnes when they were in Sacramento together. I think the the Spurs are building something. The Kings we'll talk about next, but I think that the Spurs are building something, especially when you look at their bench. It's a lot of quality in this team with Julian Champagnie, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sochan, and I'm a big fan of Sandro Mamushvili. I think that this team is looking to make a playoff push, and I think they will complete it this season. The Kings, too, are staying steady, and I think if you're a team like the Kings who was unsuccessful for, most of the 2000s, 2010s, you want to stay relevant for as long as possible, and I think with this deal they have done that. Although I think they could have gotten more, maybe some more valuable picks for De'Aaron Fox, I think that getting Zach LaVine back is a good player, and I think that their offense is going to be phenomenal. I'm not quite certain about the defense, but when has that not been the case with the Kings in this recent iteration of Sacramento's basketball? Playing Malik Monk at point guard I think is going to be beneficial. He seems to have figured something out from a playmaking perspective this year as they've had him in that lead role, when Fox isn't on the court. And even when he is on the court, he's been handling some of the responsibilities in that regard. You're starting Monk, LaVine, DeRozan, Murray, and Sabonis more than likely. We'll see how it ends up. They have been playing a lot better since firing Mike Brown and, subsequently hiring Doug Christie. The bench is a little concerning to me, but hey, maybe with these newfound assets they'll make another move and look to make a playoff push alongside San Antonio. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe and comment down below one player you'd like to see get moved. The trade deadline is on Thursday. I hope you're here with us on that day. Thank you, and I'll see you very soon.